Hello everyone out there, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk all about digestion and how we can improve digestion. So I have shared my own personal experiences that I've had in the past with really severe IBS in a couple different videos and blog posts that thankfully I no longer struggle with. But today I wanted to share with you 7 ways to improve digestion and calm a sensitive gut, some of the things that I personally did that really helped me out along my journey to better gut health, as well as some evidence-based tips as well. And when I say a sensitive gut, I just mean a gut that is maybe reacting to foods more easily, or if you get bloated more easily. I will be referring to IBS a little bit more specifically in this video. There are so many reasons why we can experience digestive troubles, right? And it's why it's so important to rule these out with your doctor. Things like IBS or irritable bowel syndrome, or Crohn's or colitis, or SIBO, H. pylori, food intolerances. But I do hope that you find today's video insightful and helpful. And I do want to thank Nerva for sponsoring today's video as well. I will be talking more about them in a few minutes. So let's get started. So number 1, this is something that was definitely a big part of my journey, and that is food journaling. It's something that you can use to really just help you to track the foods that you're eating and gain a better understanding of what you're eating and how it might be affecting your digestion or some of the symptoms that you're experiencing. And there's a couple ways you can do this. The way that I used to do it is I would have a notebook, I would just write the date and write out what I would have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, any snacks or any drinks that I would eat. It definitely can be a really helpful tool. Again, just to notice any patterns with what you're eating, or if you kind of noticing any recurring themes with, when I eat this food, I tend to feel this way afterwards, or that sort of thing. And for a lot of people, food triggers are things like FODMAPs, which is what I want to talk about next. So let's talk about this. So if you've never heard of the term FODMAP, or if you've maybe heard about it but you don't really know what it is, FODMAP is basically just an acronym that stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. And these are short chain carbohydrates or sugars that ferment really easily in the colon, meaning that our gut microbes feed off of them and produce gases as a result. And these short chain carbohydrates, these fermentable carbohydrates, are found in a variety of foods, many healthy, nourishing foods. Some examples of these foods include things like beans and apples, cruciferous veggies, garlic and onion, wheat, lactose, and even the average person who has pretty good digestion can react to high FODMAP foods, like beans, for example. It's a pretty classic example. But if you do have a more sensitive gut, or if you have things like IBS, you're more likely to react even more. Maybe you have even more gas or bloating, or things like diarrhea can result. And when it comes to FODMAPs, it's really just about adjusting the quantities of them to suit your needs, maybe reducing some of them to a level that you can tolerate, and then gradually increasing them so that you can over time start to tolerate them more. The idea behind these high FODMAP foods is definitely not to cut them out of your diet permanently or eliminate them permanently. And the reason for that is because they're actually very nourishing foods, not only nutritionally speaking, but those fermentable qualities are actually really good fuel for your microbiome. It actually supports gut health. So you definitely don't want to eliminate them long term. Again, it's just about often just adjusting the quantities or the portions of them for some people who are in fact reacting to them to a level that works for you, and then slowly increasing the amounts of them over time. And definitely working with someone one-on-one here, like a registered dietitian or nutritionist that specializes in this, can be really helpful. As some of you probably know, our gut and our brains are intricately connected through what's known as the gut-brain axis, that kind of gut-brain connection. And this is very well established in research now. We now know that there is in fact a very strong connection between the gut and the brain. If you've ever had butterflies in your stomach when you're really nervous, this is a good example of that connection, of something that we are thinking of or nervous about, and it actually affecting how our body feels, how our digestion feels. And understanding this connection and things like reducing stress can be a game changer when it comes to managing symptoms and improving digestion. And one of the ways that we can do this is through what's known as gut-directed hypnotherapy, which is an evidence-based tool that is used to help you to learn how to kind of calm and relax that gut-brain connection. So one of my favorite tools for this is the app Nerva, which helps you to self-manage IBS symptoms by guiding you through daily gut-directed hypnotherapy sessions, educational readings about the gut-brain connection, and breathing exercises for 6 weeks. And the way that it works is that each hypnotherapy session brings you into a state of relaxation that relaxes the mind and the gut through visualization exercises. Each day the app will show you kind of what you need to do for the day, and you can check them off as you go and record your progress along the way. There's also a maintenance plan that allows you to continue to practice your skills in a more flexible format once you've completed the 6 weeks. And my favorite thing about gut-directed hypnotherapy is that it's non-invasive, right? So for some people who restrictive diets or elimination diets aren't best suited to them, maybe if there's issues with disordered eating, this is a really great, gentle kind of solution. So if you want to give Nerva a try, you can do it all from home. You'll also get 24/7 personalized support. I will leave a link for you below where you can start your free 7-day trial and get 30% off of your subscription. So I'll leave a link for you below to learn more. Next, I want to talk about slowing down when we eat. It can be quite easy to kind of get in the habit of eating really quickly or not chewing our food properly, or, scarfing down our meals, or just kind of rushing when we're eating. And what happens when we do this is it doesn't allow us to digest our food as optimally, or sometimes we're swallowing air and it's leading to things like bloating when we're eating really fast. So a couple things that you can do to help you to slow down more when you are eating are things like putting your fork down between bites. This definitely allows you to slow down a bit because you're not just continually, spooning food into your mouth, but allows you to slow down a bit, giving yourself that extra few moments to chew your food thoroughly before swallowing. Also, things like sitting down while you're eating as opposed to standing, or when you're rushing or on the go. These things can definitely help you to, again, slow down a little bit and take your time with your food. Number 5 are herbal teas. Absolutely, herbal tea. I mean, I love tea. To this day, I am a big tea drinker, but definitely when I think back to having a lot of digestive symptoms and struggling a lot with my digestion, I turned to tea quite a bit, not only to soothe my digestion, but also there's a number of herbal teas that can kind of act in different ways to help to alleviate discomfort and things like that, namely peppermint. Peppermint is a great option. It's an antispasmodic, which means it helps to kind of calm and soothe spasms or pain, discomfort that's happening in your intestines. It is also great for alleviating gas and bloating. Another great one is fennel. Fennel tea, I don't love the taste of it. It kind of tastes like black licorice, so I don't love that, but still very good for alleviating gas and bloating, if you're feeling kind of uncomfortable in that sense. And also ginger. Ginger is great for being very good for nausea. So if you're feeling kind of an upset stomach, really good for that. It's also great for enhancing motility. So if you're dealing with things like constipation, ginger is good for that. It's also anti-inflammatory as well. So lots of benefits here. There's a number of different herbal teas that can be really nice and soothing. And it really is also such a comforting thing to do if you're just having a very off day with your gut. A nice hot cup of tea can be very, very soothing and comforting. Next, let's talk about exercise. Research shows that exercise actually benefits our microbiome. So the microbes that reside in our colon actually respond well to exercise. They love it. Really good for gut health in that sense. But also, when we move, right? When we get up, when we get ourselves out of a stagnant position that we've been in for too long, it helps things to move around a little bit. So whether you're bloated or feeling gassy or maybe even constipated, getting up and moving, maybe going for a 20 or 30-minute walk after a meal, or even just some stretching that allows you to open up your abdomen a little bit can definitely help to alleviate some discomfort and get things moving around a little bit. And lastly, number 7, what I really want to touch on here is to keep your diet as expansive as you possibly can. Sometimes we absolutely do need to reduce foods in our diet or cut foods out of our diet, especially if we're talking allergies or food intolerances, right? Like lactose intolerance. Absolutely, there is a time and a place for removing things from the diet. But I just want to remind you here that the more diversity in your diet, the more diverse your microbiome will be, which means better gut health, which means a better ability to tolerate more foods overall. When you're struggling with frustrating or very persistent digestive symptoms, it's really easy to want to cut a lot of foods out of your diet, kind of in an attempt to try and figure out what your triggers are. And I know this because that was me literally a few years ago. I had cut out so many foods, so many food groups, and I really wasn't eating a whole lot. I didn't have a whole lot going on in my diet. And not only did this take a massive toll on my relationship with food, it led me to become very fearful and anxious around food, obsessive around food. I had a lot of food fears, but I ultimately was doing my gut health and my microbiome a total disservice. Really, it wasn't until I finally started to understand what my actual triggers were, which for me ended up being FODMAPs. Once I started to understand that and make tweaks and adjustments to my diet there, with the quantities of those foods that I was eating, that's when I started to make a lot of improvements, and I was able to finally expand my diet and eat more foods because I had a clear understanding of what were actually my specific triggers, as opposed to just cutting everything out without really understanding what was going on. And I know how hard this can be, and it can be a long, drawn out process. It can be lots of trial and error, which again, working with a professional who can help you navigate this process can be so helpful. Sometimes the stress and the fear that we have around foods can contribute to discomfort, right? When we are really stressing out about every single thing that we are eating, it's easy to become really hypervigilant about these things, really hyper aware of the foods we're eating, and also really hypervigilant about the sounds we hear in our gut, the gurgles, the noises, the sensations. We start to freak out easier, and even this alone can add such a stress and anxiety component to our experience with food that can worsen symptoms even more. Before I finish up here, I just want to share some final thoughts here, and that is to remember that nobody has perfect digestion, and the goal with improving our digestion should never be to aim for perfect digestion. I know that for myself personally, that was definitely a bit of a mistake that I made, was feeling like I needed to, never experience any discomfort or never hear any noises in my gut or never feel gassy or bloated or whatever it may be. But the truth is that even people with, very healthy, normal digestion, it's very normal to experience bloating on some days, or to hear weird noises, or sometimes our bowel habits might change here and there, especially if we're traveling, or if we're anxious, or maybe if we ate a really big meal, or like a bean burrito or something like that. These things happen. But of course, if you are experiencing frequent or persistent discomfort, then definitely something to work towards uncovering. And I do hope that today's video was insightful for you and helpful for you to help you work towards improving your digestion overall. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely check out Nerva gut-directed hypnotherapy below. I have a link for you to start a 7-day free trial, as well as get 30% off of your subscription. So check them out below. And that's it. I'll see you all in the next one.